Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of analyzing the spaces that you occupy. You know, too many times we're out here turning cum dums into love nests. And what I mean by that is that these spaces that we occupy sometimes are really toxic, but in an effort to try to navigate it, we try to add a positive spin and we try our best to fix and remedy the spaces, but these spaces are what they are. And as I'm maturing, I'm starting to realize that things are what they are. It is what it is. And you have to learn how to accept that and to actually act accordingly. Oftentimes, we don't accept the realities that we are being shown, and that is why we suffer. We continue to try to change it with our idealism, with our optimism, and a lot of times it's blind optimism, you know? It's not effective because it's not addressing the reality of the situation. Yes, we hope that these spaces can be supportive to us. Yes, we hope that these spaces can hold us in a way that makes us feel nurtured, cared for, loved, and supported. But they don't. They don't. And so you have to come to the reality of these spaces, and that's very difficult. That is very difficult, especially when you are, I guess, a child of adverse experience and you've came from certain environments that were not supportive, so you always find yourself trying to gain support even from toxic spaces, just anything to make yourself feel nurtured, seen, heard. But you have to also realize and assess these spaces, because what you're going to continue to do is hurt yourself. You know, you break your own heart when you don't do your assessment and you don't act accordingly, because it's all fine and good to identify that the spaces that you're in are toxic. But if you do nothing to move away from those spaces, to search and seek out other more supportive spaces, you are in effect perpetuating the cycle of self abuse. You know, you have to take ownership. And that's the thing. We have to take accountability for our role in our own experience in life. A lot of times we continue to co-sign and condone poor behaviors that enable other people to treat us badly, that enable these spaces to continue to be toxic, that enable our own unhappiness. You know, you have to realize that certain spaces are not equipped and don't have the capacity to hold you in the way that you need to be held. And so, step one is to assess the spaces that you occupy and determine whether or not they can hold you. And if you determine that they can't, it's time to launch. It's time to move forward. It's time to realize a different destiny, because it's obvious that this space is not. And it helps, to be honest, if you can do that early on. I think what blinds us oftentimes is our optimism. You know, optimism can be both a blessing and a curse. A blessing in the sense that it helps us to get over certain things quicker and it builds and fosters resilience, but a curse in the sense that it also blinds us. It blinds us to the truth and creates many blind spots in our consciousness and our awareness. And we don't want to see, which is another feature of trauma. You know, part of trauma is also dissociation, not acknowledging very real abuse. You know, too many times we're turning cum dumps into love nests. We're turning these dumping grounds into storage units. Stop doing that. Stop doing that, because quite frankly, what that's doing is only prolonging the inevitable. Inevitably, you have got to move on. You've got to find the support that really feels good to your natural soul. Those natural supports, those organic connections, they feel so good. I've experienced that in real time. And it just feels so good to relax your nervous system around pleasant, warm, supportive energy. It just feels so good. You can just relax without having to worry about somebody trying to backstab, trying to undermine, trying to just not support you in a way that you need. It feels nice to lean into comforting energy, energy that really can just envelope you in that safety, that cocoon. And I know there are very few spaces, even in our personal lives. You know, work life can be challenging because a lot of times people feel threatened. And when people feel threatened, you start to see a lot of their dark side. You see the shadow. I've noticed that, Carl Jung, a psychologist, he mentioned a lot about the shadow. And I've noticed that when people feel threatened by someone, whether it be because they are good looking, talented, intelligent, tall, well spoken, have a lot of gifts, other people like them, they're affable, you know, it deploys the shadow. And the shadow attacks. The shadow tries to destroy. The shadow destroys the light. It tries to eat the light. And so you have to realize that a lot of people are operating from their shadow, operating from the darkest part of their identity. And I think, truth be told, people aren't necessarily evil. They just lack awareness and they continue to lean into their shadow as opposed to their light. And so this is why it's important that you assess the spaces that you occupy, because you could be around energy that is so dark and so shadow filled that it could try to consume your light. And oftentimes, if you're a person that is cooperative by nature, if you're a person that likes to build connections with other people, you find yourself making these subtle concessions where you compromise so much of what you feel and think just to try and get along with people. You know, I've, 2023 was about me waking up to the fact that I have started wars inside myself by always trying to get along with everybody else. By always trying to keep the peace, I've started wars inside myself. And so now in 2024, I don't try to keep the peace anymore at the expense of my feelings. I definitely value peace, definitely. Connections, togetherness, wonderful. But I realize that not everybody shares that wave. Not everybody is on that wave. Not everybody shares my vision. Not everybody shares my values and my principles and my beliefs. And so I have to make sure that I articulate those things so that way there's no war inside my body. There's no war inside my mind. There's no war inside my heart. So that way I don't have to curl up with that resentment. Because that's the thing. Resentment, it eats everything. It eats your joy. It eats your potential. And you can't allow that. If people don't agree with you, that's okay. They don't have to agree. They just have to respect the difference. The moment that they don't respect it, then we have a problem. Then there's a problem. And that's when you have to erect your boundary and respond accordingly. So there's all these rules to life, and I think that when you're younger, you don't always know the rules. You don't always understand the rules, but as you get older and you start to realize that a lot of people are just operating from their own lack of awareness and their own wounding, and they're projecting their own wounds, you stop taking things personally and you start making it your duty to protect yourself. Growing up, I didn't have a father, right? And not having a father meant that I didn't always have protection. And so oftentimes I realized this is why I got so angry with people, because they did not protect me. They did not protect me. They let me continue to give out. If they saw I was a generous person, they continued to let me bleed out kindness. They didn't protect me. And so that triggered something, that activated that anger response. Because once again, I was operating from that father wound. I was realizing that at the time I needed protection. Now I realize that it's my duty to protect myself, to keep my temple guarded. This is my temple. This is my temple. This is my temple. I need to keep these temples guarded at all times, and that's my responsibility. That's nobody else's responsibility. And if you happen to realize that you protecting yourself makes other people uncomfortable, then to hell with them. If me taking good care of myself means that I have to lose your friendship, well, guess what? Bye. Bye, I don't need that. Because now I prioritize my self-protection, I prioritize myself. And so that's what you have to learn within these spaces as you assess these spaces that you're in. Does this space celebrate my protection of self? Do they honor that? Or is it a problem for them when I protect myself, when I protect my energy, when I take care of me? See, if you're in a space or with a person that gets annoyed or angry with you when you take care of you, that person don't really love you. That space don't really value you. That space don't really care about you. That space only sees you as a come up. That space only sees you in the service of its own needs. It doesn't see you as a person. That's why these jobs and these companies, they can kiss my natural behind. I don't give a damn about them. I've learned that if you die, they'll post your position before they post your obituary. If you die, that company will post your job title before they post your obituary. So you have to take care of your needs. These jobs don't care about you. They care about the bottom line. They care about making sure that they have those deliverables, that they have those billable hours. They don't give a damn. So you have to make sure that you prioritize this space. This is your space that you have to prioritize. You assess this space and you realize this is a safe space. My space here is a safe space. What causes it to become a danger zone is when I neglect this space. You know? These spaces out here, do they really have my back? Are they genuinely supportive? Or are they supportive with an agenda? That's another thing. Are they genuinely concerned about your well-being? Or is it more performative? Is it because they want to satisfy the bottom line? You got to assess that. You got to assess that. And so I wish you all a successful journey as you begin to take stock and take ownership of your own needs and realize that it's important to assess the spaces that you occupy. Stop turning cum dumps into love nests. These love nests, if they're genuine, they feel good, they feel supportive, but a lot of these are not genuine love nests, they're cum dumps. They're places where people try to pontificate and showboat and grandstand and try to articulate their ego, as opposed to trying to really foster understanding. So you have to realize that these spaces they're not spaces of healing. They're spaces where you basically just come to get off, basically. That's it. I've had people say that, I want someone to dump with. And I hate that word. They want to dump. I don't like dump because that implies that you're just trying to take a big greasy defecation on somebody. I like share. Can I share with you what I'm feeling? Because sharing implies a mutuality. We listen to one another, but a lot of these spaces are dumping grounds, right? And so if you notice that this is a dumping ground, you're not going to get your needs met here. It's time to go there. It's time to go there, not here, there, because that space is not, So it's just about assessing that space, assessing to make sure that it's a space that has the capacity to hold you. Can this space hold me in the way that I need to be held? So I hope that this video was helpful, this information was helpful. Please like, comment, share. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you assess your spaces and take the necessary steps to walk away from those spaces that don't honor the person that you're trying to be. Let me know. All right? Peace, y'all.